I used to think I had a clutter problem, so I did what everyone tells you to do. I bought bins, labeled them, color-coded my closet. I followed the folding method. I asked if things sparked joy. I donated 4 garbage bags of clothes in one weekend. And somehow, my house still felt heavy. Like I hadn't actually fixed anything to Dodd, just rearranged the weight. So what was I missing? What did the word minimalism actually mean, if owning less wasn't the answer? If you've ever decluttered a whole weekend and still felt that same tightness in your chest, pal, this isn't about your closet. It took a trip to a small pottery studio outside Kyoto, and 3 questions from a man who owned more than I did. By the end, I understood something no decluttering book had ever told me straight. Let's go back to the beginning, Vor, to the closet that started all of it. It was February. I'd just finished my 3rd round of purging that year. A new season, a new set of bins from the same store. Every time, the relief lasted about 2 weeks. Then the counters filled again, the drawers stopped closing, and I felt like I'd failed at something. That's the sign worth noticing. If a system only works right after you clean it, the system was never really the fix. A friend who'd lived in Osaka for a decade heard me complaining and just said, "You're doing Japanese minimalism wrong." Not unkindly. More like she'd watched 100 people make the exact same mistake I was making. She said the whole idea gets flattened online into white walls and empty shelves, are a look, not a way of thinking. So a few months later, I found myself on a train outside Kyoto, headed to meet the person who could actually explain it to me. His name was Hiroshi, 71 years old, a potter for over 40 of them, working out of a wooden studio his father built. The studio smelled like wet clay and cedar. Light came through one window, landing on a shelf of unfinished bowls. I told him why I'd come, Dad. That I couldn't figure out why owning less hadn't made me feel lighter. He didn't answer right away. He picked up a cup from his workbench, turned it over in his hands, and asked me a question instead. "Does this deserve your attention?"
Not do you need it.
That distinction stopped me. Every method I'd tried asked what I could live without. He was asking something completely different. He explained that Western minimalism usually starts with elimination. Strip it down, count what's left, aim for a number. Japanese minimalism, the way he'd learned it, starts with attention. Does this object earn a place in your daily life or not? He pointed to his own workbench. It wasn't empty. It was full of tools, jars of glaze, brushes worn down to stubs. Every single item had clay on it, or wear on the handle, or a chip from years of use. Nothing sat there for show. A minimalist home isn't a home with less in it. It's a home where nothing is a stranger. I looked around my own life in my head. The junk drawer, the closet shelf of things I couldn't name anymore. None of it was a stranger because it was useless. It was a stranger because I'd stopped paying attention to it. Then he walked to a low shelf and picked up something with both hands, like it mattered more than the rest. It was a small tea bowl, uneven on one side, with a thin gold line running across it like a river on a map. This bowl broke 15 years ago. I dropped it. It shattered into 6 pieces on this floor. I asked why he hadn't thrown it away. A broken bowl seemed like the definition of clutter. He smiled and said the word, Kintsugi tano, the practice of repairing broken pottery with lacquer mixed with gold. Instead of hiding the crack, the gold traces exactly where it broke. The repair is the point, not something to disguise. A repaired bowl is worth more than an unbroken one here. The tradition traces back centuries. One story says a shogun's tea bowl came back from repair in China covered in ugly metal staples. Japanese craftsmen decided they could do better. They rebuilt it with gold instead of hiding the damage in metal. This bowl has lived a life. That single sentence undid something in me. I'd spent years trying to make my home look like nothing had ever happened in it. Every scuff sanded down, every stain replaced, every sign of use treated like a problem to solve. This is wabi-sabi te, finding the beauty in wear, in imperfection, in things that show they've been lived with. It's not about liking broken things. It's about not treating age and use as failure, as something to erase or hide. I thought about the chipped mug I'd thrown out that same year. Just because. Hiroshi set the bowl down and reached for something small on the shelf beside it. A plain, ordinary teacup. It looked completely unremarkable. Plain white, a little uneven at the rim, the kind of cup you'd walk past in a shop. I use this every morning. Same cup, 20 years. I clean it, I notice it, I hold it the same way each time. The word he used was Mottainai, the sense that wasting something, including a thing's potential, is a kind of loss. Most people think Mottainai means don't throw things away. He said it's really about not throwing away your attention to them. He gave me a challenge, almost like homework. Pick one object I use every single day. A mug, a pen, a set of keys. For 30 days, actually take care of it. Clean it properly. Notice how it feels in my hand. Nothing more than that. He said most people upgrade instead of appreciate, replacing things the moment they feel bored, not broken. I thought about my own coffee mug at home. A plain one from a grocery store, bought without a single thought. I'd never once noticed its weight, or the way the handle sat against my finger. It was just a container I used and set down. Tension is the opposite of accumulation. One is quiet. The other is always hungry. Hungry. That word landed harder than I expected it to. Because that's exactly what my closet full of bins had felt like. Not peaceful, just quieter hunger, still asking for more. Try this tonight. Pick one object you touch every day and actually look at it before you set it down. Hiroshi stood up and walked toward the far wall of the studio Taran. And that's when I noticed how bare it was. One long wooden shelf, almost completely empty. Just a single vase, off-center, with nothing else around it. I asked if he was planning to fill it. He looked almost amused by the question, like I'd missed something obvious. Why leave them empty? This is he said.
Not nothing.
Not empty. A kind of space that's doing something on purpose. He explained that isn't the absence of things. It's the gap that lets the things around it mean something instead of blurring together. If I put 10 objects on this shelf, you'd see none of them. You'd just see clutter. The word itself is built from two characters, one meaning gate, one meaning sun. Light through a gate, a gap you can see through. Not a wall, not a void, a threshold that lets something specific come into view. I thought about my own shelves back home. Every one of them full, edge to edge, nothing given room to matter. Not because I loved everything on them. Because empty space had always felt like a mistake I hadn't gotten around to fixing. That's the real weight, I realized, not the objects themselves, but never letting anything have space to breathe. Hiroshi's rule was simple. Clear one surface completely. Leave exactly one thing you actually care about. Then look at it tomorrow morning. You'll see it.
Really see it.
Maybe for the first time. A crowded shelf doesn't just hide the room. It hides your ability to notice anything on it at all. Space isn't what's missing. It's what lets you actually see. I asked him if that meant I should get rid of almost everything I owned. He shook his head and that surprised me.
No, that is not necessary.
No, he said. That's the biggest misunderstanding people bring here.
Danshari isn't about emptying your house. Danshari breaks into 3 parts. Dan, refusing what doesn't serve you. Sha, letting go of it. Detaching from the He said most people focus on the middle step, the getting rid of part tell, because it's the one you can film and post online. But the first step happens before anything even enters your house. It's the refusing, not the discarding. The real question isn't what should I throw away? It's what should I have never brought home? I thought about my last shopping trip. A candle I didn't need, a mug that matched nothing, bought because it was cute. None of that was a decluttering failure waiting to happen. It was a Dan failure failed. I never asked the question at all. Danshari comes from a modern teacher named Hideko Yamashita, who built it from an older practice of self-reflection. It's less about your shelves and more about your habit spotted, the moment right before an object crosses your threshold. You don't fix clutter at the shelf. You fix it at the door. Try asking before any purchase, will I actually care for this, or am I just filling a gap I haven't named yet? Hiroshi walked me back toward his workbench, past shelves that were, I now noticed, completely full, not empty at all. Every jar of glaze, every brush, every tool had clay dust on it.
Nothing decorative.
Nothing untouched. And that's when the question I'd been avoiding the whole visit finally came out of my mouth. Hiroshi, your studio isn't minimalist. You own more than I do. How is this the same philosophy? He laughed the first real laugh of the afternoon Todd, and gestured at the whole room with one open hand. Minimalism was never about the number. It was always about whether everything here has a reason to exist. He counted for me, almost casually brang. Every brush shapes a specific curve. Every jar holds a potter with a full studio isn't breaking the philosophy if every single object earns its place. The opposite of clutter was never empty. The opposite of clutter is relationship. My storage bins had never asked that question. They just asked how much could fit Tad, which is exactly why they never worked. I looked at my own life differently in that moment, not as too much stuff, but as too many strangers I'd stopped noticing. The goal was never the empty shelf. The goal was knowing, honestly, why every single thing was still there. That's the question that follows me home now every time I reach for something without thinking, does this deserve me? Not do I need it. Not is it worth money. Does it deserve the attention of my one ordinary life? Before I left, Hiroshi said one more thing tarring. And it wasn't the tidy ending I expected from a story like this. Don't romanticize this, he said. Japan isn't a country of empty rooms. Most homes here are just as full as yours. He said younger people in Japan buy just as much as anyone else now. Or online shopping, small apartments stacked with things. What I'm showing you isn't how everyone lives, he said. It's a way of thinking that anyone can choose.
Including me. Including you.
That honesty mattered more than if he'd told me every Japanese home looked like his studio. It made it usable. This was never about a country. It was about a question. He picked the Kintsugi bowl back up one last time and set it directly in my hands before I left the studio. Take this feeling home with you, he said. Not the bowl. Just what it taught you about what's worth keeping. On the train back, I wrote down 3 questions, the ones I now ask before anything enters or leaves my home. 1, does this deserve my attention, not just my space? 2, did I choose this, or did it just arrive? 3, if this broke tomorrow, would I repair it with care? Or would I feel nothing at all? That 3rd question changed the most for me. It's not about what you own. It's about what you'd fight to keep. I still have bins in my closet. I never got rid of them. I just stopped needing them to save me. My coffee mug sits differently in my hand now. Plain, a little chipped, the one I chose to actually notice. Tonight, pick one ordinary object in your home. Hold it. Ask if it deserves your attention pie, not your space. Do that once, honestly, and you'll understand something no storage bin ever could have taught you. If this changed how you see your own shelves, tell me what object you're going to notice tonight.